Hello everyone, it is Erin Floto here, and I am rating my themes of all time. All of my themes ever since I started bullet journaling. So I have a video back on the channel of my bullet journal evolution where I kind of go through all of the bullet journals that I have had. Right now they're in storage, so I'll play some clips here and there for the themes that I have chosen, but I am narrowing my favorite themes down, and I'm ranking them from 10 to 1 of all time. So starting off with number 10, we have my October 2020 setup, which was topographic maps. I loved this theme. So as most of you know, I'm an environmental scientist. When I was in school, I looked at topographic maps all the time. I barely do it now, but I looked at them all the time when it came to my geography classes and things like that. So for me, this was a nod towards nature and towards my schooling, and honestly was just such an easy theme to do. I also loved that I did it in the blackout, so I got to play with the acrylic graphs, to play with the colors, to play with the line thicknesses, and I think that the theme overall turned out so beautiful. It was so easy to do. It can be easily replicated, and honestly, it is just a theme that you don't often see. And I think you'll find that for a lot of these themes is that for me in particular, one of the things that I love is to be unique. So I like the ones that gravitate to me are the fairly unique themes. And I don't see that theme often done. It's not like a succulent theme or whatever. So for me in particular, that was one of my favorite themes. Number 9 is from May 2022, and that is my biology theme. So again, I am a scientist. So one of the things that I love is kind of playing into the things that I love in this world. And I love the environment, I love nature, I love science. So that theme in particular was a ton of fun. Not only that, it was in a blackout notebook again, and I used a lot of negative space and a lot of acrylographs and a lot of color. So I really played into just like the dynamics of chromosomes and red blood cells and things like that. And like, I love that the main cover page had the cell. And so like I made the May part of the cell. It was fun to me. I had so much fun making it, and there was a lot of different creative ways that I could go. And I chose a color palette that was bright and punchy that stood out from the blackout notebook. So I really loved that theme. And it kind of took me back to my school days. Number 8 is from March 2019, and that is my Super Mario theme. This one was a lot of fun for me in particular because I do love playing games and things like that, but it really was a world building experience when it came to doing the spreads. And one of the things that I found in particular is the calendar spread that I really loved. I had the events, I think, I can't remember which way it was. Most of the mushrooms were red, and then like the events were green or vice versa. Can't really remember at this point, but it was fun to make that calendar log with something other than the boxes. And it's something that I want to incorporate more in 2025, because when I was looking back at that, I was like, man, that was such a creative thing that I did that I haven't really done a lot since then. And that's one of the things that I love about looking back at your bullet journaling spreads is things that you used to do back then that you were like, oh my God, that was creative. I feel really good about that. And then you went away from it for some reason and you're like, oh yeah, I did used to do that. So I think I'm going to try to incorporate that again a little bit more. And like I said, for the Super Mario theme, it was such a world building experience because Super Mario is such a world, right? So there's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could do a whole background. You could do certain characters. You can build the castles. I had one spread that had like the cascading blocks and then it had a pipe coming down from the sky, right? There's so many opportunities with such a robust world that you can derive your ideas from. Number 7 is from December of 2019, and that is Galactic Dreams. So this was also in a blackout notebook, and it was one of the first times that I ever used like chalk markers in the blackout notebook. So to that point, Archer and Olive have released blackout notebooks, but there weren't a lot of pens that you could use in a blackout notebook. Really, the main ones were Jelly Rolls, and then there were a few like Kuretake marker pens that were metallic that you could use. So this was my first time ever diving into chalk markers in my bullet journal. And that, it was a bit hard because of like the bluntness. It was like a chisel tip type of marker. And so it was a bit hard to work with, but the effect of blending the blues, the purples, and the pinks looks so good. I loved that theme. And it was really one of those times where you let very minimal types of decoration really speak for themselves on the blackout paper. So that's one of the things that I like to do in the blackout notebook, is like really just let the blackout notebook speak and then just add like these little touches. So having the little clouds. So I did the blue, pink, and purple clouds and then outlined it in white. Loved how it looked. It was one of my favorite themes. Well, my 7th favorite theme that I've ever done. So I definitely enjoyed that theme a lot. And it also felt very, again, this was back in a time that bullet journaling wasn't like, it like had taken off, but like there weren't a lot of creators in the space. So a lot of themes were very samey. And so this felt like one of those themes that, again, was not really samey, especially because it was in a blackout, especially because I was using chalk markers. Like it just was different at the time. Number 6 is from March 2021, and that was my pet cafe theme. This theme was really fun because, so this was during the Panini. It was, it was one that I created with my patrons because I had a Patreon at the time, and they gave so much input, and all of the animals that I used in the sticker kit that I made for that kit or for that theme were my Patreon members' animals or my animals. So that was fun for me. It's like really just kind of taking off, playing with animals. And it was inspired by a local cafe to me when I lived in Syracuse that had this very rustic-y vibe. And so there was a lot of brick and a lot of, because it's like old school New York. So there's a lot of brick and things like that, a lot of wrought iron. So it was really inspired by a cafe that was like one of my favorite cafes in Syracuse. And one of the things that I would love if I ever opened up a cafe is to have animals there, which I know people are like, oh, animals and food. But like, it's one of the things that I would like love it to death. So that is one of the things that I really wanted to lean into. And when I was creating the sticker kit, I made like the little, made the paws with the like toe beans, and I named the cafe after all of my animals, MHMM. So I think I called it M3H or something to that effect. I can't really remember at this point, but I just have such a like nostalgic feeling because of how in depth that I went with my patrons at the time, especially because we were all still kind of stuck inside. It had been like an entire year since the Panini started, and we just really, we connected on such a different level at that point in time. So it was a lot of fun to create like an entire sticker kit based on that. And then I used that in my notebook. So it's wrapped up in all those feelings for me. Number 5 is from October 2021, and that is the mood board theme. So for those that don't know, I am divorced and remarried. And so October 2021 is when I like moved out after I was separated from my first husband. And it was the first time that I felt free to make any choice that I ever wanted to make. And I felt free, which sounds crazy. But for me, the mood board theme was like, oh, you're recreating yourself. You're starting your journey again. It was one of the scariest but best times in my life. And to be honest, I met my husband a month later. So for me, that theme has a lot of extra emotions wrapped up into it. But it was like, oh, you can do whatever you want now, right? Like you don't have to have a second person to take into consideration on anything that you want to do, on how you want to decorate your house and things like that. So that's kind of the vibe that I went with this mood board theme, is like, well, I'm recreating my life. So what are things that I want in my life now? And I made that into a mood board, which went into a theme. So it was a ton of fun to make. It's funny because I don't actually incorporate the colors that I incorporated for that mood board in my house. But it was really just the freeing nature of it, and like taking something that was happening with me at the time and starting anew and starting fresh, and really that like anything was possible for me at that point in time. And so that was kind of the thing with the mood board. There were no spreads that like I'm like, oh yeah, that spread, but it's the idea of the theme that really hits home for me. And because it started my whole new journey, of course I was like crushed at the time, but like, again, I felt like free. And so having that as a theme, like feeling that freedom of a mood board, is so silly, but it really meant the world to me. Number 4 is July 2021, and that is my washi fruit theme. So this one was fun for me, and is actually what kind of sparked my idea of doing washi tape in 2024, is because I had such a fun time doing that theme. Now, if I have redone everything in 2024, it wouldn't just be a washi like color theme. I would have like applied washi the same way I applied it then, which was like drawing out a bunch of fruits and then putting those colors where they would ordinarily be with the fruit, if that makes sense. So like if I'm doing cherries, the cherry itself is made up of red, the stem is made up of green washi tape, and then you outline it in black. So that was a lot of fun. Again, felt really creative for me. It's not a theme that I see often. I do see people doing washi tape art a lot, and it's usually people and the fashion world kind of ideal. But for me, I can't create fashion people. So I decided to veer off of that entirely, and I just went with fruit and citrus. And that theme, like all the sparkles from the washi tape, all the different shades of colors, because it is such a rainbow theme with both the fruit and washi elements incorporated. Like I look back at that and I'm like, yes, you executed that wonderfully. And I just feel really good about that execution in particular. Number 3 is from December 2018. And this is one of the earliest spreads, I think, or the earliest spread that is in my top 10. And that is the mountain range theme. So for those that don't know, I am from Florida. So my first foray into mountains was when I finished college. and I moved into the Georgia Blue Mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains. And it was like, it was life-changing to me. Just, again, you can see that a lot of these have to do with like nature and things like that. But for me, like being a Florida girl, like at that point in time, and then I continued to move north, and now I live in New York, and I live on top of a mountain. So mountain ranges have really resonated with me ever since I moved and left Florida. And this was such a simple theme, but one, it was one of the themes that helped my account kind of take off. And two, it was so easy to do, but also like it just, the mountain scape is just such a beautiful theme. And it is something that like I love so much that I did it in December 2018. And then I used that same mountain range to set up my annual spreads for 2019 because I didn't want to stop. So again, very nature-based, very me, very environmentally focused. And like I said, it was easy to do. The line work was not tough. And it was one of the first themes that like got my attention on Instagram and everything like that, that really helped my account take off. And it was one of the first themes that I was like just so extremely proud of. So number 2 is from March 2022, and it's a barcode sustainability theme. It's a bit of a like big topic because it has to do with consumerism and trying to work into sustainability and things like that. So the only thing about this theme is my hand hurt so bad doing this theme. Oh my goodness. But it was worth it because the black and the white, adding the little windmills, things like that. Oh my gosh, it was so, so good. And I loved how that theme was. Again, it was on blackout paper with just white. And like the whole idea was like by the end of the theme, like you would move away from the barcode consumerism and more into like trees and things like that. So that was like kind of like the vibe that my brain was going when I went that direction. By the time I got to April, because originally my April theme was supposed to be doing like a forest theme to move away from consumerism into a forest. But then I ended up doing a galaxy theme because I was tired of drawing lines. So I didn't want to draw the lines from the tree trunks. But God, if I would have executed that, that would have been great. But honestly, my hand hurt. But it is one of the themes that I'm like, oh yeah, not only was the theme good, the concept was good, it was a good message, but it also looked good and it was executed really well too. And then my number 1 favorite theme is from December 2022, and that's my Birch Forest theme. So I got a lot of inspiration from the mountaintop that I live on. We have a lot of birch trees on my property. And not only that, one, birch trees are so easy to draw. And two, it's really like the white with the gray. And then I inserted a pop of red with the cardinal effect because we do have a lot of cardinals in my area as well. So not only that, so it screamed like home to me because it looked exactly how it looked looking out my window where I live. So it screamed home to me. You know, cardinals have such a beautiful representation of like memories from people that have passed and things like that. But also like, again, I'm a Florida girl who had never experienced winter until I moved to Georgia in 2014. So for me, like winter is such a magical time still. I'm sure there is one day that I will look back and be like, winter sucks. Like you have to shovel snow. But for me, like I find winter always a very magical experience. And that's probably because I went 24 years without experiencing a real winter. And to be honest, that was a Georgia winter. And then when I moved to New York in 2015, like I get butterflies every single time winter comes about. And I know my husband will disagree with me because he is from New York, so he will never understand that, like, oh, he grew up with winter his entire life. But for me, that was one of the things about this this theme that I loved, is like just trying to bring the magic of winter, and like winter in like a wooded area. So that is all 10 themes that are my favorite. There are a bunch of like runner-ups. I included a whole list on, like, I was just looking through themes that I've done in the past. And I'm like, oh, I love this theme. Oh, I love this theme. And so then I took that list and I was like, I have to boil this down to 10. And that's really, really hard. So there's a ton of other themes out there that I have really resonated with, but those are the top 10 that it's not just the theme itself or the idea itself or the execution of the theme, but so many times it's about nostalgia of what I was going through at the time and how I felt about the theme and how it made me smile at the time. So that is all 10 themes. Let me know what your top 10 is for you. Not for me, but for you. What are your top 10 themes that you've ever done in your entire bullet journaling life? If you've only done the last year, then give me your top 5 or something like that. But I would love to know what your favorite themes are that you've ever done. And I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.